it feels like everything has to have a gimmick, like Barbenheimer or a oops.
You know what? After this weekend, I don't know crap. Like, that is impressive. Yeah, take a bow.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to Last Week in Star Wars. I'm Molly.
Oh, sorry. And I'm Alex.
Are you still playing that racing game?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Again, kind of a light week for Star Wars, but fortunately, we have some exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, not really a light week for us.
Yeah, light week for news, kind of light week for Canon. This past weekend, we went out to San Francisco. We're going to talk about this more in its own video because we're still waiting for some footage, but we went to San Francisco, we went to Skywalker Ranch, we went to Lucasfilm, we got to meet and have a roundtable interview with Tony Gilroy and Alan Tudyk and Margit Pfeiffer. So it's been a busy week for us.
All of that was on Monday.
Yeah.
Which was like weird for a Monday.
Okay, the interviews were on Monday.
Yeah.
But we went to Skywalker Ranch on Friday. We went to Muir Woods on Saturday.
Yeah, we got to explore the city a good bit, which is uncommon for us for like work trips, so that was fun.
Yeah, we went out a little bit early. Everything involving Andor, that was happening on Monday, and we were like, we've never been to San Francisco, let's go make a weekend of it. And that was great.
Yeah, the Skywalker Ranch tour was cool because we got to go with Phil Shostak and Kristen Baver.
They were great tour guides.
They were super cool about it, and the ranch is incredible. And as you said, it smells like flannel and dreams.
That was me assuming, since I can't smell.
Yeah.
But that's what I figure it smelled like.
Actually, it smells like old books and flannel.
I mean, the library was such a cool room. We couldn't take any video or photos inside the ranch. That's just their policy, but there are pictures of the library, and it's so cool. Tons of books about filmmaking and mythology and like just the visual medium in general. Mm-hmm. I could have spent all day in there.
Yeah. We only got to explore the first floor. I believe George's actual office is on the third floor.
Yes.
So we're not allowed up there, but it was cool just being there, and like we got to eat there, which was cool, and we bought lots of swag.
We got to go into Skywalker Sound as well, and they had like this demo that they play for people. Like, first of all, the theater's great, looks great, it sounds amazing.
Imagine a theater built by sound engineers specifically. And it's like the perfect experience to see a film. But yeah, we'll go into a lot more of this for the vlog.
Yeah, we're still waiting on, we're supposed to get footage from all of the interviews we did on Monday. But yeah, it was just a great time to hang out with other Star Wars people as well. Triad of the Force, Friends of the Force, Talking Bay 94, Blast Points, Sky Talkers, Children of the Watch. They were all there. So it was fun to hang out with them for like 2 days straight.
Yeah, and that was our first time at the San Francisco office. We had been to the one in Burbank before. But...
Yeah. And again, couldn't take any video or pictures inside there, but they have obviously so much cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like, not just Star Wars, but also Star Trek and Galaxy Quest and Jurassic Park and Indiana Jones and E.T.
Anything like Lucas or ILM kind of related.
Didn't see anything Howard the Duck. We saw a poster.
One poster.
Yeah, I was looking for Howard himself, but couldn't find him. But let's get into last week in news, and the big story, I would say, it's not a full story. It's like well in rumor territory, but The Hollywood Reporter put out an article that was more about Bob Iger and who his successor is going to be, because I guess he's going to retire again.
Mm-hmm. As he should.
Yeah. For the second time. We'll see if it sticks. Along with that discussion was some talk about what will happen when Kathleen Kennedy makes her inevitable exit from leading Lucasfilm, going back to still producing movies.
Everyone's favorite topic.
Right.
What happens to Kathleen Kennedy?
So the relevant quote said that insiders say the company seems most likely to promote from within. The current thinking is a scenario where Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni and production head Carrie Beck, both Lucasfilm vets, take co-head roles. So still not official news, but I find this to be interesting. I'm not opposed to this right now at all.
I'm not either. Dave has talked a lot on panels about Carrie Beck and like working with her, and has given her a lot of praise and given her the responsibility of a lot of the success of a lot of projects. So I think they would work well together. I think she's qualified. Obviously, Dave would be in a good spot for this, but I don't think he would be able to do this alone. If he were to take this role, like president of Lucasfilm, he wouldn't be able to do all the creative stuff.
Yeah, like I kind of, you actually pointed this out when we were talking about it. It sounds kind of like what they're doing with DC, with James Gunn, and I forget who his co-lead is. But I think that Dave would still stay in the creative, very Star Wars-y side of things, and Carrie would be the business side of things, because Dave is, finding his sea legs as a live action director, but he hasn't been doing that for very long. He started, his first live action project was 2019. Mm-hmm. So I think you would need someone that has more experience under their belt, but obviously he's like George Lucas's protege. So he has the Star Wars, but I think even he would admit, like, he probably shouldn't be a studio head all of a sudden.
I don't know. I kind of go back and forth to this decision, because to me, it kind of seems like they want to give it to just Carrie Beck, but to save face for the community, they are going to attach Dave Filoni and his name to it and call it a co-head thing. So we don't really have any idea, if this happens, how involved they would each be.
I mean, that gets a little conspiracy theorist to me, sure. I think, just like because of the climate of everything.
Yes.
Very understandable. But I look at like what DC is doing, and I do, even though I don't really care about DC, I'm excited for Superman, I guess, but I don't have a lot like riding on it. I do think that makes sense to have a partnership of someone who really knows the nerdy side and can be like the creative leader. But then obviously you need someone who is a producer and knows like a lot about how movies get made, which, by the way, that's something that this whole experience this past weekend reminded me, is that we sit here, a lot of people sit and talk on their podcasts about the industry and the movies that are being made. And I think people take for granted, including myself, just how hard it is to make anything. Any movie ever. And
how many people are involved.
And not just that, but every single person's job has so much that they need to take care of. And we were discussing like the sound design with Margit Pfeiffer, and it's something that you don't even think about, because like that's kind of the job, is to almost make it seem seamless and almost like it looks easy. Mm-hmm. But so much work goes into like a single sound effect. And she was talking about the balance between like making sure something's visually interesting, that you don't get bored visually, but you have to do the same thing audibly and kind of break things up. And I'm like, yeah, I forget about that side of things. And that's just one department. And you got costuming and VFX, and like we got to go to a screening of episode 8.
The screening was awesome. It wasn't at the Skywalker Sound Theater, but it was at the theater that's at the Lucasfilm offices. And so we were in that room with a bunch of other Lucasfilm employees. And at the end, there were multiple breaks for applause as the credits rolled.
Yeah, which is great.
So, I don't know, next time you watch a movie or a show, watch the whole credits and just like really let the amount of names sink in to like get some perspective on how many people worked really hard to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. It's, you hear this a lot for like VFX, that their job is almost to be invisible. And then I think you just forget how much work goes into just one aspect of one department of one piece of a movie. Like there's just so much and so many people involved.
It takes a village.
And that's what I'm saying, is like, it's so easy for us to sit here and just be like, well, what do you think about X, Y, and Z and the next leader of Lucasfilm? And I'm like, you know what? After this weekend, I don't know crap. Like, none of us do really, but we sit here and talk like we do.
I mean, it really feels like they're in good hands as far as like all the people that we talked to and the work that they're doing, a lot of them are top experts in their field. So yeah, I don't know. It was really mind-opening.
Yeah, it was. It was just a solid reminder of all of the work and all of the things that we don't remember, we don't think it, like I said, that we take for granted, I think.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the Filoni stuff, I will say I can't help but like have this concern in the back of my mind that, you know, thinking about how Kathleen Kennedy greenlit things like Andor and Acolyte, I can't help but wonder if Dave would maybe push against greenlighting some more different stories like those.
I would hope that that wouldn't be the case, because I mean, as far as we know, he touches like every Star Wars project as the CCO.
Right.
So you know what, I haven't looked to see if his name is in the credits of Andor, but I assume that it would be somewhere. And Jon Favreau has given him praise as someone who won't say no to your idea. He'll find a way to help make it work if it can. Like John was talking about wanting the Mandalorians to all wear their helmets all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, that is not how it was in the Clone Wars, but let's make a sect of Mandalorians who do that. Like, it's not a straight no. It's okay, let's find a way to make it work. So hearing stuff like that makes me hopeful that, yeah, he wouldn't like just hone in on his own one personal flavor of Star Wars and be like, and that's it forever.
I guess I don't know enough about that position. Would that position allow him bring in other showrunners and give them complete creative lead?
I hope so, because that's part of the reason I think Andor had so much success.
Yeah.
And Tony Gilroy has been saying it, like the Paley Fest interview, just the next creators that come in, Lucasfilm needs to let their freak flag fly, which is such a tongue twister. But yeah, just like let creators come in and do their thing, and yeah, help it stay within what Star Wars feels like. But like, I don't want Star Wars to just be my favorite flavor all the time. So yeah, I think Dave Filoni understands that. I don't think he's going to say, it's just what I want from now on forever.
Well, hopefully not. And I don't want it to sound like I don't think he's qualified for a position like that, because he is, after all, George Lucas's kind of like protege. He worked directly with George for a long time. So I think he will always have George's best interest in mind, whatever he does. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, I think the co-head with the two of them is a good idea.
Right. Like, I think he's very qualified as the person who can help people find their creative vision. But yeah, as far as being the president of Lucasfilm and like the business side, that I'm like, I don't know the man. I don't know the full breadth of his experience, but I don't think he has as much on the business side as the creative side, enough to be like a studio head.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we just don't really know. If I had to guess, he's always been more on the creative side, and I would feel bad for him if he couldn't do that anymore and had too much to do on the business side.
That's also true, that I wouldn't want to like lose his voice.
Yeah, and that would probably happen if he had mostly control over the business as a whole. He wouldn't have time to be the creative lead on anything.
Yeah, and if we look at, again, DC, James Gunn is able to be a leader and direct Superman. Right. And, you know, he's able to do both. It gives him the time.
Mm-hmm. There was also an article going around, I think, on Yahoo News, but the original article was from back in April from, I think, Screen Rant, and it was, I believe it was maybe from Celebration, but Filoni was talking about Kevin Feige and the MCU, and he said, the MCU and what he was able to accomplish on a timeline and perfectly place all these elements, it's an incredible skill. We're not operating like they do. We're a bit different in Star Wars because our timeline moves a little bit differently, but I take a lot of inspiration even from that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. That obviously, being another Disney studio. I think Lucas and Marvel, they're probably looking at each other. I'm glad to hear him say that, our timeline is different, because I don't want Star Wars to be like, the MCU is kind of a very straight, it's one thing at a time, one story that builds.
Well, now with the multiverse, it's a little messier.
Yeah, but it is still, like, even though Fantastic Four is going to, like, jump back in time, it's still going to be part of this one timeline.
Right.
I'm glad to hear that Dave is not like, I want to do that specifically, but I think that's fine to take some inspiration. And I mean, I think The Mandalorian and Ahsoka and building up to a movie is MCU-esque.
If he had said that exact quote 6 or 7 years ago, people would only have taken it as a good thing. But I think now, with some of the more recent decisions with Marvel, people are taking it as a bad thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see it as a bad thing. It sounds to me like business as usual for Star Wars, where, yeah, some of these stories are going to build up. We're going to get our High Republics. We're going to have our Mandoverse, or whatever you want to call that. But we're also going to do random things like Andor. I hope we continue to keep doing things like Andor. The other little piece of news I wanted to discuss is about Mark Hamill saying that he won't return as Luke Skywalker. In an interview with comicbook.com, he said, "I had my time. I'm appreciative of that, but I really think they should focus on the future and all the new characters."
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm not super sure how to feel on this. Like, I fully believe him when he says that. I think it's a good instinct to just be like, hey, like you said, I've had my time. There are a bunch of new characters. We can focus on them. But what worries me is that they will want him to be in the New Republic movie, and then we're just going to get like a fully AI Luke or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone would like that.
I'm sure some people would, but I would prefer they recast him. I have not enjoyed, like, especially the AI voice that they did. It just sounds flat and hollow. It doesn't sound like a human. I
don't understand why they can't just have the guy that looks kind of like him just play him. He looks great, and like they have to put all the dots on his head and make him look more like young Mark Hamill. Like, none of that is necessary.
I think that we really need to just get over the recasting thing, as like it all started back with Rogue One. And you know what? I think Guy Henry would have made a fine Tarkin. Like, put a little extra makeup on him. He did the voice well. And if we just accepted that's who's playing Grand Moff Tarkin now, okay.
Yeah.
Like, we got over it with Benjamin Bratt.
Yeah. But he's not as big of a character as Luke. But
yeah.
I guess I worry that the reason why they keep bringing in the deepfake Luke is that no one is happy with the skills of the actor that would replace Luke. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if they found just a full recast and it didn't even look like Luke, if it looked enough like Luke, I mean, I think we just have to get over that.
People go to the Disney parks and they see that Luke and they're like, look, it's Luke.
Right. Like, just accept that it's Luke. And I know it's not Mark Hamill.
Luke is not a real person, and he can't live forever.
Right. And if you want to keep telling stories about him, and especially if Mark is not going to come back, I think go ahead and recast. I don't know. The whole precedent set by Rogue One and The Mandalorian, especially now, at the time it was like, oh, that's like, Rogue One was a little iffy. I mean, they've all been a little bit like, and it got better and better. But now that it's been 5 or 6 years since that happened in The Mandalorian, I'm like, seeing where it all led.
But there's been a lot of discussion about AI since all of that.
Exactly.
And even, Favreau has said things like, this feels dangerous.
Yeah, but it's like, it feels very Jurassic Park, of like,
sure,
they're admitting in the behind the scenes
I just
talk.
mean, that was a long time ago, and we hadn't had a bunch of the strikes, and just the outspoken attitude towards AI has changed a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I think more people are accepting the idea that we can't keep using it like we have been.
I don't know.
That's my hope.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're kind of more pessimistic thinking about it.
I hope that that's the way they go. But yeah, I guess I'm not expecting it to go that way.
We'll see.
It's just, yeah, I remember that behind the scenes, the gallery, Mando season 2 of Jon Favreau saying that this could be a dangerous technology, but it's like, well, you can't put that genie back in the bottle. And
yeah, guess what? It is.
And now, like, to have that speech from Mon Mothma about the death of truth, and like it's getting easier and easier to trick people and to obscure the truth. It's just a tough thing, and I'm like, I would much prefer a recast.
Yeah, I truly think that if they were to keep going, like Lucasfilm, I mean, if they keep going down the path and use more and more AI, they're going to lose a lot of people, and it's going to be really messy. So I don't think it's in their best interest to do that, and I think they know that. They're still going to find ways to use AI, obviously, but hopefully it's not like, here's a totally deep-faked actor on screen.
Right.
But Mark Hamill has been saying this a lot and like for a long time. So I do think he is being honest and saying, and like at least he's not angry about it. Like,
no.
I don't want to play Luke anymore. He is like, accept that Luke has had his time and we can move on.
Or maybe he thinks it's not a good idea to keep doing the deepfake thing.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I would love for Mark Hamill to just like do whatever he wants. He's in Life of Chuck. I just watched the interviews on the Colbert show that he did, and he seemed really excited to talk about that and not Star Wars, even though they always make him talk about Star Wars.
But by the way, whoever's on Colbert's writing team,
oh, yeah.
and they did that Ajunta Paul thing, like I out loud just exclaimed, Ajunta Paul? Like I never thought I would hear that name on a mainstream show like that.
What a deep cut.
Having Stephen Colbert drop the name Ajunta Paul, I was like, bravo.
Someone on that team had to go find an Xbox copy of KOTOR,
KOTOR
to give to Stephen for that bit.
And I love Mark just being like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Summer is here. More sun, more light, more time to do all the things that make summer so special. And the number one thing you don't want to be doing all summer? Spending hours cooking inside. That's where Factor comes in. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. Factor meals arrive fresh and ready to eat, perfect for any active lifestyle over summer and beyond. With 45 weekly menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your summer gains and goals. Choose from options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more. Factor powers your day sun up to sundown, with nutritious breakfasts, on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, and guilt-free snacks and desserts. Factor has your whole day covered. Enjoy more this summer. Get Factor if you want all the flavor and none of the fuss. I've tried several weeks' worth of Factor meals, and they're perfect for fitting lunch into my busy schedule. I cook breakfast in the morning, and Molly and I cook dinner together in the evening, but finding time for a good lunch has always been a struggle for me. Factor is simple and quick to prepare in the microwave or oven, and the meals taste good. I usually choose their Protein Plus meals that come with chicken, pork, or beef. They taste good, they're quick to make, and they definitely feel like a step above a standard microwavable meal. Get started at factormeals.com/StarWars50off and use code StarWars50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code StarWars50off at factormeals.com/StarWars50off for 50% off plus free shipping. factormeals.com/StarWars50off.
But that's it for news. So for last week in canon, we got 2 new comic issues, Fear of the Jedi issue 5 and Jedi Knights issue 4.
I haven't read those, but you will all be excited to hear that I've officially started reading Trials of the Jedi, our early copy that we got, and I'm going to try to get it done before it's out.
That is impressive. Take a bow.
Yeah, it's always kind of hard with the advanced copies of because like I've talked about this a million times. I prefer to read the book and like have the audiobook playing at the same time, and they do send us the early audiobook copies too, but it's in like a Google Drive, and like it's just harder than if you were to play it from the Audible app. But I figured out a better system for it, and I got like a quarter of the way through the book yesterday.
You're moving along in one day.
I
was impressed.
I hope to make the book club for that one.
I was impressed and surprised.
But yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, we will stick with the High Republic and talk about Fear of the Jedi issue 5, which was the final issue of this miniseries.
Oh.
There is going to be one more final comic issue just called The Beacon that wraps up all of the Marvel stories. This one was pretty straightforward. I've been telling you about the giant flying nameless that turned out to be a hallucination. Instead, it was a scav droid. Basically, long story short, the Jedi beat the Nile. The Nile surrender at the Battle of Eriadu. Keeve sends out a call to more people of the galaxy to gather reinforcements, and they show up. The Nile surrender, and that's the end. So that's how Keeve's story has ended so far. And the thing I wanted to talk about is that we have known for a long time, since Dooku Jedi Lost, that a Master Trinus was a member of the Lost 20. And the Yoda comic also strongly hints that it is Keeve Trinus, but I haven't seen anything yet that makes me go like, oh, she's ready to leave. Like, she's really unhappy as a Jedi.
They might not go into that.
That's what I'm wondering. And I wanted to bring that up as a discussion question. Like, we have this one more issue called The Beacon that's coming out next month, but I wonder if there's more to her story that will not be told as part of, like, the High Republic publishing initiative, but maybe they would continue it on elsewhere.
Maybe.
I don't know. I guess I'm wondering if...
What time period would that be then?
It was still the High Republic, but, like, it wouldn't be part of, phase 1, 2, 3. It's, like, it gets interesting. It's the same way that, like, the Wayseeker novel is in the High Republic, but it's not part of the High Republic publishing initiative.
I don't know. You lost me. Yeah. Or they could just leave it to be like, yes, your strong inclination that she becomes that character is true. The idea that we'll never hear about the High Republic again is ridiculous.
And
like, this is being called the last book of the High Republic initiative or,
right,
like, publishing whatever. But that doesn't mean we'll never get stories about these characters ever again.
Right. And, like, some of the authors have said something like it's the end of the beginning, or, like, they've said some vague stuff that makes it sound like there are avenues for these characters to continue on. We might be ending phase 3 and everything that was planned, but that doesn't mean it's the end and we're moving on forever. In Jedi Knights issue 4, this was kind of another standalone-ish story, the same way issue 3 was, but it was a little more connected. It was about someone named Phaedra. She's a thief that was from the Han Solo and Chewbacca comics, but she runs, like, this big long scam. The Underworld's after her, the Jedi are after her. She fakes her death, but the Jedi still catch her and get her sent off to prison. But there's also, like, a little bit of lingering hints of this assassin that's hunting Qui-Gon. And I think I'm starting to understand this series a little better, is that it's very much... I was expecting to have one, like, ongoing story that builds, but I think it's more like Buffy or the X-Files of... It's more of a mission of the week with the Jedi.
Does each issue have a team up with 2 different Jedi?
Yes.
So what is the team up here?
This is Qui-Gon and Shakti.
Okay.
So they're the ones hunting for Phaedra. It is a little bit connected to the larger mysteries with this assassin, more so than issue 3 was. But I was kind of expecting that this series would be like, we introduce Atha Prime as this main villain, and then we would, like, keep checking in on him and whatever he's up to. And I'm like, oh, no, I think it's going to be more like the X-Files, where mission of the week, and then when Atha Prime jumps in, you're like, oh, this one's, like, some stuff's about to go down.
Yeah, like, every couple of episodes, you'll get a main story episode.
Yeah.
Like an overarching main storyline. And then you have the sublines
but
kind of continuing through.
Yes. And I think that just this issue helped me reframe my expectations for this series.
Okay.
Where I'm like, oh, okay, I get what this is.
Yeah. Honestly,
'cause
that's
issue 3, I was like, where's At the Prime?
yeah, that's good to hear because we always talk about how we miss the format of those shows, the days when, TV shows could have 22 episodes to really, go all over the place with. So yeah, that sounds like a good format.
Yeah. There were the Buffy episodes where it was just a crazy monster and it was a lot of fun, and then like sometimes the big bad would show up and like things would really focus in.
Yeah.
And those are the episodes people seem to talk about more. But yeah, I do miss, let's just have an adventure with Shaak-Ti and Qui-Gon. Why not? Like, let's pair these characters up in weird ways and have some fun.
So Qui-Gon has gotten 2 issues so far.
I would say even 3 or 4 if you count the free comic book day. So
he's been in almost all of them.
Qui-Gon's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Qui-Gon gets around.
Yeah.
we got to make up for lost time. We didn't get a lot of him, definitely not as much as Obi-Wan, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's been nice. I love having Qui-Gon around. But moving into our last segment, last week in questions, first I have to give a shout out and a thank you to XXD25, who's a new Jedi Council member on our Patreon, which is very generous. So thank you, XXD. Is 25 your last name? I don't know. We'll find out. But our first question comes from Daryl Cooper and Graham Gaskell, who ask what we think of Tony Gilroy's comments that Disney said streaming is dead, and will we see more live-action Star Wars shows after Ahsoka Season 2?
I forgot about that, yeah.
That comment does not surprise me, even though, like, the fact that it was probably a year or 2 ago where he was fighting for Season 2 budget, and I think Disney was already like, we are pulling back. We probably went at this too hard.
Yeah. Did he specify streaming is dead for Disney or just like in general?
I think the quote that I saw was just Disney said streaming is dead. I think that it is more for them. Like, I don't think Netflix is going to pull back.
No.
I think it's just so many studios and companies went all in on streaming. They need to pull back a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think they're making much money there with Disney Plus. I mean, to me, it sounds like Tony is saying this because it's what Disney told him.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. That sounds like pretty much in line with what we've heard about everything. Like, they're pulling back from the shows. They want to focus more on movies because they're not making money from Disney Plus. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah. And I mean, I do think that the Mandalorian and Grogu, I do feel like that was gonna be season 4 of The Mandalorian, and then they said no. I still think it's strange that they told us about, here are the next 3 movies we're working on in London, and then they were like, actually, we're also doing The Mandalorian and Grogu, and that's next, and this Starfighter movie. So I think that maybe there were some streaming projects that were like, actually, let's put this in a more profitable format.
I guess out of all the Star Wars shows that have come out so far, yeah, Mando is the only one that I'm like, they could get a season 4 after the movie.
Because they have a pretty crazy viewership. Like, I do want to say, I don't think live action Star Wars is going to be completely dead. I think they're going to be way choosier about their projects.
Yes. And I think they should be.
Yeah.
I mean, if they wanted to concentrate more on like new animated projects while they're being choosier about live action, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at what's on the horizon, we've got Maul Shadowlord, we've got Visions Volume 3, we've got The Ninth Jedi as a series. Like, I think animated Star Wars, fingers crossed, is going to continue to thrive there. I think it's live action Star Wars where they're going to be much more choosy. Back in 2021, whenever they had that big, here's everything we're working on, and like half of it never came to be.
Yeah.
They were just kind of throwing everything at the wall, and it wasn't just Star Wars, it was Marvel and the Mighty Ducks and like every franchise Disney had.
Yeah, like movies just, I don't know if they just can't make as much money anymore. Like, obviously they can, but they have to be these huge mega blockbusters. But without as much of the money coming from the sale of like physical copies.
Right.
Like, where are they making their money?
Well, yeah, that's where things got all messed up. Not the only problem, but that I think Matt Damon talked about that on Hot Ones of all places, talking about how studios would take risks on movies, lower budget movies that weren't going to go crazy at the box office, but would do fine in physical sales.
Yeah, and now it feels like everything has to have a gimmick, like Barbenheimer or a oops, or like a stupid popcorn bucket.
Yeah.
Everything has to have a thing that can go viral, and the influencers can be like, look at this.
I am tired of the popcorn buckets, I have to say.
Yeah.
I've rolled my eyes at quite a few of them, but
I just think they could be better. If they're going to go with that, I mean, a Vader head for the re-release of Episode 3? Come on.
it should have been Utapau and a sinkhole.
We can do better.
We'll brainstorm that. I do think and hope that we figure out a way to get people more engaged in movies. I mean, like, Sinners did very well, just did not have like a crazy budget. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have Avengers Doomsday, which I don't know if this is true or not. I just saw a headline that said it needs to make $2 billion to break even.
Woof.
And I'm like, okay, that's quite the gamble.
How much of that is paying for Robert Downey Jr.?
I mean, a lot. Didn't he get like $100 million to come back for both of those movies?
That is crazy.
Yeah, and it's just, you can make smaller budget movies that look great, like The Creator. That was under $100 million budget.
Well, I think Sinners was directed by Ryan
Coogler, yeah.
Ryan Coogler, who did Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
He's done other stuff too, but I think that one benefited from his name. And also, I mean, like, most movies get word of mouth, but
right.
This one had a specific kind of word of mouth that was like, oh, this movie is different in a very exciting way.
Yeah.
And people didn't want to tell people why to go see it. They were just like, go see it.
That's exactly why we went. I was interested and had heard the name, but then once it came out, people were like, go see Sinners. I will not tell you anything about it. And I was like, I'm in. Like, that's kind of what I want.
And Ludwig did the score for
and also,
it.
yeah, if you haven't seen Sinners, it's awesome. Go see it.
It is awesome. Like, they even had some 70 millimeter copies in some local theaters here.
And Michael B. Jordan was great. So yeah, like, it had a lot going for it. It was very marketable, but it didn't have to be this $400 million movie.
Yeah.
To do well and to be exciting.
I mean, but like Marvel movies, they gotta look like Marvel movies, right? Like, that's expensive.
Yeah, it's just all the CG and stuff. I don't know. What was the original question? Is streaming dead?
No, but they need to like reassess what they're gonna focus on for streaming.
Right.
Animation, stuff that's lower budget. Yeah.
I agree. I do think we will see something after Ahsoka Season 2. I just think that maybe was the last thing that got through, probably because it'll be instrumental in setting up the film and will be important there. But beyond that, I think that they are going to reassess. And hopefully we can find a middle ground where we're getting movies and live action and not just one or the other.
Yes.
Our second question comes from Latchy Russell, who asks why Luthen didn't kill Dedra in the gallery.
Why he didn't kill Dedra.
Yeah. Why did he just sacrifice himself?
He had to have known that she wasn't there by herself completely. Like, there were people outside.
Yeah, she tells him the place is surrounded.
Yeah.
And I think the argument is that he could have taken her out too, but I don't know that was a given. I think in his mind, the most important thing for the rebellion is that I don't get caught.
Yeah.
I think he thinks that's more important than killing Dedra. And if he tries to kill Dedra, she's got a blaster. She can stun him. She can wound him. So I think it was a safer play to just kind of fake her out and just go make sure that he isn't available for interrogation right now. Put it nicely.
Yeah, I mean, Luthen's a really smart guy, and I think he knows a lot about Dedra, and he knows the kind of person that she is, and he probably figures she's not long for this world anyways, as far as, like, not that she will die, but she's not going to make it very far, and she doesn't. She ends up in Narkina. So
there is that he may have thought, like, well, I am killing two birds with one stone. Like, I'm sacrificing myself. I'm making sure I can't talk.
Yeah.
And it's going to put her in a bad spot, too.
He knows that she has poured so much time and effort into finding Axis that if he can't be found and is, in fact, dead and can't be, like, interrogated or whatever, he's not useful anymore. Therefore, she will have made a huge mistake, punishable by being sent to Narkina.
Yeah.
Or they could have killed her or whatever, but yeah, I think he knew all that and was, like he always talks about, like, thinking several steps ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he just knew what was important and knew that he couldn't control what Dedra was going to do if he went at her with a knife.
Yeah.
Like, it's more about, I gotta protect the rebellion at any cost.
She doesn't deserve a swift death.
There's that too. I mean, I much prefer that she went to Narkina.
Yeah, she deserves to go straight to jail.
Right away. But that's it for last week in Star Wars. Next week we'll be covering Star Wars Issue 2, Ghost Agents Issue 4, and the final issue of the Rise of Skywalker adaptation. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Blue Sky.
And consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.